Hi everyone, my name is Kim. This afternoon we're going to continue with the types and talking about their loops and their grips. So we're going to do ESFP'S and we're going to talk about when they're under stress. They go into loops and grips. All right, so ESFPs, they're normally very bubbly, very cheerful, optimistic people. You know, they are just, you know, they don't take things too seriously. You know, they're, you know, easygoing. They're dynamic people. Yeah, so you know, they have a lot of good qualities. But when they're under stress, they go into the loop, and that is the SCTE loop. Okay, so when they're in that loop, they want to do immediate actions. You know, that type normally, you know, they're doers. You know, they go and do it. But they do things in the moment. And so when they're in a loop, they're going to want immediate things. You know, they're gonna do a lot of here and now things. So yeah, that SCTE loop. So SE being they, you know, living in the moment, and wanting things immediately. So when they're in this loop, their dominant function, SE, is way too much about the moment, you know, and instant gratification. This type can be this way when, you know, they're under stress or when they're unhealthy. So they want immediate action. They want to take immediate action on things. They want to do, you know, this is too extreme, you know, immediate things, like always, you know, they're like, oh, I got to do this. I want to do this, you know, let's go and do this. This is fun, you know, and so they can get too overly like that. They are action-oriented people. They like to keep active, but when they're in the SCTE loop, it's too extreme. You know, they just want to live in the moment and not worry about consequences or implications. So that's SE, their dominant function. Now the TE is about efficiency. TE is, you know, about getting things done. So TE, for them, you know, they start to become like, you know, too efficient machines, you know, too rigid, too, you know, just focusing on, you know, getting things done, you know, constantly, you know, real extreme when it comes to efficiency. You know, it's like, oh, got to get this done, you know, got to get that done and this done, 100 million things done. This has to be done. And so when they're in the SCTE loop, they neglect their feelings and the you know, the flexibility, you know, open-ended, and that's how they naturally are, you know. And when it comes to their feelings, you know, they're not afraid to show it, you know. Like I said, they're a dynamic person, you know, they have a presence, but it's an optimistic presence. It's let's have some fun presence, you know, let's go on an adventure. And so when they're in the SETE loop, they don't think about those things. They don't think about their their values, their FI values. They're doing all these things, but they're not considering it. They're not thinking about, okay, is this, decision I made, or the action oriented activity, or something, does it align with my values, my FI values? So yeah, they just end up being these efficiency machines, rigid, just focusing on getting things done, and not really, see, normally they like to, enjoy life. They like to get the most out of life. I would have to say, SPs are that way. They want to get the most out of their life. To them, life is too short. You've got to seize the moment. You've got to, live your life to the fullest. And this is their motto. But when they're in that SCTE loop, all of that is abandoned. They're not using FI. They're so that's the loop. That's what happens when they're under stress. They go to that SCTE loop. Okay, so when also they're under a lot of stress, they will go into the NI grip. Okay, so NI is their inferior function, their fourth function. And so when they just go into NI, NI is an introverted function. It's a perceiving function, but when they're just in their NI, they worry about future future possibilities, future outcomes. They get too fixated in their NI, where it's like they've lost, the living the here and now. It's like they become so hyper focused on NI, normally, because NI is lost. They don't normally, it's a function that is not really used by ESFPs. Not a lot of them. There are some that work on their NI, but most of them kind of bypass it. But when they're in the NI grip, like I said, they worry about their future, the future outcomes. So NI can become to them, it's negative. Worrying about your future possibilities or future outcomes. It's, it's very different, for, say, someone that's an NI dom, like INFJs and INTJs. NI for them it's positive. It's, they're working towards goals, for their future. They're on a path, and they know where the path is going. They know what the trajectory is going. But for ESFPs, when they're in the grip, NI to them is very negative. It's not positive. And when they're in these grips and these loops, they lose sight you know, the optimism, the positivity, the you know, the flexibility. They're just want to have fun in life, you know. They're deep down inside, you know, they're young, you know, and they have that vitality, you know. Even when they're older, they can have that vitality. It's just the way they are wired. It's how their personality is like. But when they're in the loop, you know, the SCTE loop, all of that is gone. And all of that is just, you know, efficient machine, worrying too much about, you know, not worrying about, you know, the future and what it'll be like for them in the future. I would have to say, a way to get out of the NI grip is, you know, to get back to SE, NFI, because SE is a function that makes that gives you that vitality, that gives you, you know, that that optimism, that, you know, the world is your oyster, you know, and live your life to the fullest. This is how they are naturally when they're healthy. And their feeling function, FI. And when they really pay attention to it and work on it, you know, they have their values. ESFP'S, they like their freedom too, just like the ENFP'S. So the SCTE loop, they're not able to, you know, to just kick back and enjoy life, live life to the fullest, you know, just, you know, easygoing, you know, seeing where life takes you, you know, just, you know, living in the moment, you know, don't worry about spilt milk, you know. They have that charisma, that, you know, they're charming, you know, but when they're in the group, the grips and the loops, they lose all that. They lose sight of all those things that they really are, you know, when they're healthy, when they're balanced. So anyway, my time is going over here, and so that is the ESFP, their loops and the grips that they fall into when they're under stress. All right, I hope you have a good afternoon, and I'm going to say goodbye.